Every promotion you will ever receive will have a learning curve. Every new opportunity that will ever be placed in front of you, every new responsibility, there's going to have to be a learning curve. And the day that you say, I don't want to learn anymore, the day that you say, I don't want to go through that learning curve, the learning curve is difficult, the day that you decide I'm going to stop learning is the day that your promotions are going to end. Every opportunity that you have, every new promotion that you get, every new responsibility that you receive is going to require learning. So people have to have the ability to see that you have an aptitude for learning. Well, I'm a learner, but can they see it? They could see in these young men they had an aptitude of learning. In Hebrews 5 verse 11, Paul said, we have much to say to you about this, but it is hard to explain because you are slow to learn. So you can look at a person and by observation recognize this person is a learner and this person is not a learner. Everybody say, you can see it. Now this has nothing to do with your IQ. It's about your heart. There are people that have fantastic IQs, 145, 150, they're up in the genius level, but they're dumb as a rock. They don't know how to get out of the rain. They don't know how to take the toilet paper off of a toilet paper tube. They're educated idiots. They've got a huge IQ, but they're not learners. They're not what? They're not what? Because being a learner is not dependent upon your genetics. Being a learner is dependent upon your heart. Look at the person next to that, my heart. Very quickly, 4 characteristics of the heart of a learner. Number 1, the heart of a learner is a righteous heart. Daniel 9 verse 9. Instruct a wise man and he will be wiser still. Teach a righteous man and he will add to his learning. English Standard Version. Teach a righteous man and he will increase his learning. Now Daniel and his 3 friends were righteous. Everybody say, righteous heart. These men had been taken as slaves into captivity from Israel to Babylon. They did not say, well, we better learn to get along. We're going to have to engage the Babylonian culture. We're going to have to go along to get along. We're going to have to compromise how we were raised and what we believe in order to survive. God forsook us, so forget God. They didn't act like that. They said, you know what? We're not going to eat the food of the king that's been sacrificed to idols. We're not going to drink this high-powered alcohol that the king wants. We're not going to live like that. That's not who we are. We're going to live a godly lifestyle. And these young men were learners. They were what? Secondly, a respect for God. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 7. The fear of the Lord or respect for God is the beginning of knowledge. Where does knowledge begin? Respect for God. Daniel and his 3 friends had a great respect for God. When they were told they had to do things, they wouldn't change. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, and they did not break. If they were thrown into the lion's den, that's fine. If they were going to be thrown into the fiery furnace, that's fine. Jesus would walk with them. But they had a respect for God. They had a what? They had a what? Now, if you will have a respect, if you'll have a heart that has a deep respect for God, you will be a learner. Thirdly, the heart of a learner is an intelligent heart. Proverbs 18:15, English Standard Version. The intelligent heart acquires knowledge. Everybody say, an intelligent heart acquires knowledge. You learn things. You have eyes to see. You have ears to hear. You use your brain. Look at the person next to you and say, I have a brain. Say it again. You're not like that old Wizard of Oz character, if I only had a brain. Look at the person next to you and say, I have a brain. Now, years ago, some of you will remember, 25 years ago, we had a businessman speak for us. He did a great business conference and his name was Peter Daniels. 2 of the things, now he said a lot of great things, but 2 of the things I'll never forget that he said is, first of all, he said, the brain is like a muscle. It has to be exercised. Where's that Santa Ana young man? Come here, sir. Take off your coat. Take off your coat. Now, I want you to notice, this young man, come here. This young man likes short sleeves. Show us a muscle. Come on. See, I've known him since before he was born, okay? I can tell you the courtship of his mother and father. This is Pastor Babes' son. Come on, show us a muscle. Come on. Yeah, he's got this mango growing on the backside of his arm, and it's not a ripe mango. It's a green mango. It's really hard. Look at this thing. I mean, he's got this big mango growing back here. Did I embarrass you? Now, how did he get those muscles? He didn't used to have them. I've known him since he was a baby. He didn't used to have those muscles. Now he likes flexing those muscles. This is so much fun. He loves every minute of this. Thanks, God. Oh. How did he get those muscles? He worked out. Is that right? How do you improve your brain power? Use your brain. Everybody say, use my brain. Peter Daniels also told the story about how he looked at his wife one day because he had an aneurysm in the brain, and they said he was supposed to be dead years and years ago, and he could drop dead any minute because he'd blow this artery in his head. But he's like 95 years old and he's still alive. But he used to tell his wife, if this thing blows and they want to do a brain, technology's advanced to the point that they can do a brain transplant. He said, make sure you get the brain of a Christian. And she thought he meant because, you know, they're pure thoughts and they've renewed their mind. He said, no. I want you to get a Christian brain because it hasn't been used very much. Now, too often as Christians, are you studying for your board exam? Oh, Pastor, I'm fasting and praying. I'm sorry. Fasting and prayer is not going to pass the board exam. You have a brain. Use it. Oh, Pastor, I'm praying that God, the Holy Spirit will guide me through the exam. The Holy Spirit is not going to help you cheat. The Holy Spirit is, did you hear me? God gave you you've got to use your Fourthly, the heart of a learner is wise. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5, let the wise hear and increase in learning. NIV, let the wise listen and add to their learning. Now, wisdom is simply the application of knowledge. Knowledge is a series of facts. Wisdom is how to apply those facts. Now, there are many people that have huge IQs. I mean, they got an IQ of 145, 150, but they're dumb as a rock. Look at the person next to you and say, dumb as a rock. Say, dumb as a rock. Now, they got an IQ of 145, but they're dumb as a rock because they're like a computer. They've got a million facts, but they don't know how to apply anything. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. How do you integrate it? How do you assimilate it into your life? Now, Jesus says it this way, Mark chapter 4, beginning with verse 24. Consider carefully what you hear, he continued. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. Now, look at what Jesus said. Consider carefully what you hear. Everybody say, learning. With the measure you use, what you hear, it will be measured to you. How many of you want to learn more? Put your hand up high. Then use what you've already learned. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. Luke 8:18. Therefore consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he thinks he has will be taken from him. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, this is why many great doctrines of the church have been lost. This is why during the Dark Ages, the doctrine of salvation by grace, salvation by faith was lost. This is why before the great Pentecostal Reformation, this is why people forgot the baptism of the Holy Spirit and speaking in other tongues. This is why before the great healing revival, people forgot the doctrine of healings and just started going to doctors. Every time God restores truth, he has to restore truth because a previous generation knew it and did not use it. And it was taken from them. Everybody say, taken from them. Now, I always use the illustration of the young man who walked up to me after service and said, Pastor Sumrall, I'm going to be transferring to COP and be a part of this church now. Well, what church do you come from? He tells me, and I said, well, why don't you go back to where God planted you? He said, well, I'm not learning there. I said, you won't learn here either then. Learning has nothing to do with who's speaking. Learning has to do with who's listening. Everybody say, who's listening? If you use what you learn. Now, straight talk. In your businesses, it's the same principle. In your careers, it's the same principle. Whatever you learn, you sit down and immediately say, okay, I see those facts. Now, how do I integrate this and assimilate this into my lifestyle and my decisions? How do I use what I've learned? Everybody say, use what I have learned. Did you learn something? Look at the person next to you. I have a brain. I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use what I learn.